smart money understands that XRP's true value far exceeds its current price. Their confidence is so strong that they openly state that they have no concerns about its future valuation. Like, is he 100% right on that? Well, he feels as though he is. Look at this quotation. Quote, we take a positive attitude towards XRP's future value increase after comparing it to other cryptocurrencies. Like, who's quoting this? Well, we're going to get into that. So, very few, if any, cryptocurrencies have direct documented statements from financial institutions expressing this level of certainty about their future worth. That alone speaks volumes. I couldn't agree more. He says, read it twice, or he's read it twice. I'll state this. In the past, there's other people out there, not just me, who covered the whole thing of like the World Bank referencing Stellar and also Ripple. I had a recent video deep dive I did about Quant not that long ago, I think a few days ago. In the citation, I share with you guys what World Bank and Quant networks. So impressive when you see the big conglomerates cite these specific ones, right? Moving forward, I want to share with you on the screen the discovery. This comes from the Atlantic Press, and basically speaking, here it is on the other screen, a little bit bigger. It says specifically, in the Advances in Economics, Business and Management Research, Volume 190 from the Atlantic Press, says, according to Swift, but Ripple payment mode is more inclusive. Advantages of Ripple, such as real-time, near zero cost, and wider coverage, may have a serious impact on Swift. Look what it says in regards to XRP's competitiveness from 3 perspectives. In section 3.1, it talks about promising price tendency. Among the famous cryptocurrencies, XRP is known for its reasonable price for both investment and cross-border transactions. And getting further into it, it states here on the top right, therefore, we've seen an overall steady state of XRP that is mature enough for people to invest. And it also goes on to mention, many treat XRP as an underlying asset to hold for future investment and even cross-border transactions, and is completely reasonable when considering the stable price and potential value in the future. To talk about the future potential value of XRP, we wouldn't worry so much about the decline of XRP price because it has a relatively stable price level even when there is a price shock. At the same time, we take a positive attitude towards XRP's future value increase after comparing it with other cryptocurrencies. This other highlight. Nowadays, the cryptocurrency market still has huge potential for growth as governments and corporations worldwide observe that the decentralized nature and blockchain tech could bring benefits. And this bottom part, from this perspective, as the cryptocurrency still has room to grow, we should expect the future growth of many cryptocurrencies, and like it says, including XRP. That's a great analysis. That's a quite the write-up, to say the least, from Atlantis Press in regards to Advances in Economics, Business and Management Research, Volume 190. Now, everything you see here, I will bookmark and at least reshare it. On top of that, I want to get into this other part, because when we talk about smart money, well, what about the whole thing of Coinbase? Do they recognize the whole topic of just that, smart money? Well, basically speaking, I think the answer is yes. And on top of that, let's get into a little bit about this briefly. So we see here specifically also from Smoke that, quote, the SEC will drop crypto cases that don't involve fraud. Interesting. On top of that, Smoke states, Coinbase, just a matter of time. Ripple's just a matter of time. So what does he have in that regard? Well, it's this from Cooley. Some of you guys are familiar with Cooley. My dad used to have the nickname of Cooley a long time ago when he used to dye his hair completely black. Anyway, don't celebrate just yet. Potential litigation risk under Trump administration. This was posted January 21st, 2025, literally not that long ago. But this bottom part here talks about Paul Atkins, and it states that he is a crypto-friendly former SEC commissioner who served as an advisor to the Digital Chamber of Commerce. Reports also suggest that the SEC is now drafting new, more supportive guidance and considering how to scale back or drop crypto cases that don't involve fraud. Wouldn't it make sense that Ripple XRP would be at the top of that list? I think so. And with anything, I mean, what about some other projects that have had the SEC under their particular magnifying glass? I mean, think about that in itself. As we get further into this, Smoke has a little bit more in that regard, because it states here that, according to recent intel, SEC signals path to ending the Coinbase lawsuit. Well, a lot of you guys feel as though that, will this thing ever end? How much longer do we have to talk about the Ripple SEC case? Will we have a full, not just 2/3 victory, but a full Ripple victory? I get it, guys. People get frustrated with some of these things. So, and it's something else I want to get into. It's the whole thing from Smoke in regards to Citi and the connection, obviously, with Ripple XRP. Now, disclaimer real quick. We know that when it comes to Ripple XRP, well, they were a participant in the United States Regulated Settlement Network, the RSN. We understand the quant connection with the RLN, but yes, Citi was one of the main hosts of the recent RSN. Check out what Smoke has for you guys here. He goes into detail about this, and he goes on to mention this specifically. Citi with the handshake with XRP. How? Well, as you zoom in, we see here from a thing called Citi GPS, it talks about Bank of the Future. And I'll zoom in a little bit more for you guys can see this. So as we see here, it talks about specifically this, and it says limitations. It says escrow is designed as a feature to enable the XRP ledger to be used in the interledger protocol. I do apologize it being blurry. This was taken from a screenshot from a person's phone. But yes, ledger to be used is the interledger protocol. Now, when we connect that, it goes to the top right over here, and it goes on to mention that the interledger protocol, ILP, solves interoperability and could ultimately lead to building an entire network of trust and facilitate peer-to-peer payments. ILP could help reduce settlement times and facilitate low-value payments. Now, of course, that was from a while back, but again, source Ripple Labs. Why would Citi source Ripple Labs? Well, think about it. Again, don't overthink about it. So when we get further down to the whole thing of the Bank of the Future and how the ABCs of digital disruption is in finance, again, the highlights, everybody. Escrow only works with XRP, not tokens. That's incredibly interesting, and what a key find to see the citation from Citi and connecting it over to what you see here with, let's face it, the blurry illustrations. But whatever the case be, XRP in the middle, and also in figure 99, Ripple RTXP protocol for real-time value exchange. So great discovery from Smoke. Glad to share that with you guys. I'm just going to zoom back a little bit further in. That way it's not messing up my outline. As we pull up more information from our brother Smoke, understand that 9 hours ago, here's why we do these deep dives. Just in, Citi, the third biggest U.S. bank by assets, is considering expanding into cryptocurrency custody management. I mean, is this perfect timing or what? At the end of the day, we can connect things. Smoke does it probably better than anybody in that regard. When we get further into it, why is Citi considering crypto custody? Think about it. We already done the test pilots about this, of what should be referenced with these pilot programs. Again, that was the whole thing of understanding the RLN and what they were trying to solve. As we get also further into this, let's pull up this also from Smoke breaking February 2025, crypto.com, the evolution of institutional crypto market. Now think about this for a moment, everybody. When you see some of this, it makes you wonder who would be the main exchange that would really take off. And I think, if anything, a lot of us are sleeping on crypto.com's CRO. Now, I will state this. I'll come back in the frame. I don't know if you're new to the channel. If you are, I welcome you. Really, I do. Back in 2021, CRO as in the crypto.com native coin, well, Kronos, CRO, was my third top performer. If you know the history of my journey, back in 2021, I turned 8K into 88K with Shiba Inu. I turned a $300 investment into Dogecoin into a little over 23, 24K, give or take. And on top of that, Crow was my third top performer. $1,700 into a little over 10K. And yes, I went with my gut and I cashed that out. And I'm so glad that I did because, if anything, what happened in 2022? Well, start of that crypto winter. So, whatever the case be, will crypto.com CRO have another huge bull run going forward, new all-time highs? I think the answer is yes. You know, say what you want, the main guy, the head honcho of crypto.com, I think his name is, was it Marszalek? Yeah, Chris Marszalek stated, if I got his name wrong, so many names to remember, right? But Chris stated a while back that, you know, when we talk about tokenized stocks, you know, he shared this in a tweet. He stated or shared the whole thing of Larry Fink about tokenization of stocks and securities and real world assets and so on. You know, say what you want, there's something to be said about that. Are you sleeping on Crow as well? I think a lot of people are sleeping on Crow, but nonetheless, jump back into this because it's not just about Crow. So what we have here, again, is the whole thing of institutional crypto market from liquidity to global adoption. Presentation confirms that XRP ETF approval in 2025 will in fact drive institutional adoption and interest. The ETF is a major step. And think about ETF. What about like the ones that Will and I have been covering? You know, 11 or 14 ETFs, give or take. I mean, say what you want. Every time there's an ETF, you will see a certain amount of XRP get locked up. I do agree with Will, I'll come back, that the real true supply of XRP is a little under 6 billion. And again, watch some of his deep dives where he comes up with some of those figures. He has a lot to back that up. All right, getting more into this, again, from the crypto.com citation. The evolution of institutional crypto market from liquidity to global adoption. Again, February 2025, Smart Summit, Rio de Janeiro. Okay, interesting. Well, even on the next particular slide, institutions behind the ETS, well, there's a few, but looking ahead in 2025, the potential approval of ETS for both Solana and XRP is likely to further drive institutional interest and, of course, adoption. You have the whole thing of what you see in regards to BTC and ETH, but there definitely is a lot of demand here, right? That's where it's at in anything. It doesn't matter stocks, crypto, and so on. It's all about supply and demand moving forward. Now, before we kick it into the next bit of coverage, I want to reference this. Smoke is right. He states here from this retweet from XRP MW, and this is where he says, where there is smoke, there is fire, right? It's because Smoke basically mentions that financial institutions are no longer doing what? Waiting on the sidelines. Smoke goes on to mention that it's imperative for action. Financial institutions believe that they can't afford to wait on the sidelines. So before we get into the next part of the coverage, that is where we will enter into the segue segment of QNT. Some of you guys ask what cold storage solution I use. I use this, and it is the Decent wallet. All right. I also, of course, have a ledger like this. All right. You can get a discount basically from going into the affiliate link, which is in all the live video descriptions and recorded and so on. And for the yahoos that are out there, they're like, this is just a shield. And, you know, we'll fix point this out. And it's a great point. Were you aware that you don't necessarily get a discount link just going straight to the site? No, you actually have to go through a platform like this. So how cool is that? You know, I don't think anybody's complaining about that. But anyway, use the link, get a discount. There's another one here. If you're the type of person you want to get one for you and your, you know, significant other, you can get two of them. They actually have another promotion, which is this, and I think this is cool. You can get an all-in-one card wallet plus backup card package. Interesting. I thought that was cool. And again, one of the main key things I like about the Decent wallet is not having to do the red tape of jumping through all the hoops for XDC and the custom folder. I mean, Edward Vincent can vouch on that. Some of you guys can too as well in regards to Ledger. That was a pain in the butt. You don't have that problem. You literally open up your phone, it's on your app, track everything that's going on, right? And saying goes, not your keys, not your crypto. You know the drill. Check it all out though if you wish to do so. It is truly the cold storage solution that I use for the most part. There's still some on Ledger that I kind of split it up on it and so on. So it is what it is. But if I have preference over one, I'm going with this one. A lot easier to use and so on. And some people, even to this day, still ask me which one to use.